All right, hey, it's Rob, and today I'm going to be reading to you from my 40-plus-year-old Dungeons and Dragons notebook. Yes, indeed, I was recently reunited with this. Thanks, Mom. And just thought I'd share a little bit out of this notebook with you. I grew up in Oak Park, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit, and we played Dungeons and Dragons for a couple of years. We were into it for a while, maybe the end of middle school, going into high school. For me, right around, like I said, 1979, maybe 1980. And at some point, everyone got a turn being the dungeon master, being the person who controls the game. So this was my Dungeon Master notebook. Reward if found. Well, indeed it was found. Anyway, still got my dice. Those are pretty cool. And I don't think we ever really knew what we were doing. There were no YouTube videos or any of that kind of stuff. Classes, anything like that, to tell us how to play the game. So we read the books and we did the best we could. I have some of my characters here, all named after cars, of course. What else would a 12-year-old name their characters after? Yeah, so let's get into what's actually in this book. So in the back here, I've got a map of, on graph paper, of course, because what else would you use in middle school? And this details the different rooms of the dungeon, numbered, etc. So you would roll the dice a certain amount of times, end up in one of these rooms. And this was actually, I think, supposed to be a lake. It's like a boat dock, I think. So you'd come out of your dungeon here, go on the lake, and depending on what you rolled, you'd end up in certain sections of the lake, and bad things would happen to you, which is pretty much all that happened in Dungeons and Dragons. Here's how you died in Sector 27. Anyway, so this was the dungeon that I drew up. Multiple pages of chicken scratch. I can still read it, and basically it just told the story of a place I called the Secret Dungeons. All right, let's hear about those secret dungeons very briefly. One day, Rimrod, yeah, I know, was in his house when he hears a wild cry from outside. 2 words. He looks outside, now it's 1 word, and sees that all of his horses are running loose. He gathers up a few friends and goes chasing after them. He and his friends have been chasing them for about a mile when they come up to a forest. They decide to go in, and after about 200 feet, run over a plank of wood covered by leaves. They hear the hollow noise and they stop. The men brush off the leaves and see a wooden plank about 5 feet by 5 feet. It says, "This is the entrance to the secret dungeons." Not too secret if they can just find it like that. What do you do? When the dungeon goers open the door, spears fly out. They hit one man if I roll a 1, 2, or 3. You go down a passage 30 feet or so and come to a door on the south wall. The spears do 1 to 6 damage. Like I already said that. And then we just described the various rooms. I won't go through too many of them, but room 1 is empty. Okay, why did I bother? Room 2, there is a carrion crawler. We had this thing called the monster manual, and you would pick out the different monsters that they would run into. I remember that. Carrion crawler has 14 HP, hit points. You see him up in a corner on the ceiling looking for food. Uh-oh, I think you're the food. There is an old chest in the room containing 50 gold pieces. Room 3, there is a room with an odd-shaped design in the middle. On each side, there are 10-foot hitches in the west and south side. There are 2 piles of flesh. When you are in the room, the flesh starts to move and turns into 2 trolls. Gross. 25 hit points each. There are a few gold pieces scattered in the northeast side of the design. There's also a niche, I think I spelled that wrong, that has the shape of a gold piece. 5,000 gold pieces in the design. Room number 4. This room is 6 Goulds with a D. 7 hit points. There is no more treasure. All right. Number 6. This is a rudely furnished room. Crudely, maybe I was trying to say. With an old man who is lawful and good, who has sworn a vow of silence. He will not fight if attacked. He takes only 2 hit points. There is a pottery flask in one corner containing his drinking water, and a pallet that has a handful of lentils. Where did I get this? All of his food. There are some rags hanging on a nail by the wall and a wooden begging bowl on the table. If so much as a single gold piece is dropped in his bowl, he will make a holy sign which will add 1 hit point to each man permanently. After, he will disappear. I think I was listening to a lot of Black Sabbath. Room 7. There is a man in this room who says nothing until you enter. Then he will attack you with a sword and 2 hidden daggers. Nice. Room 8. In this room, there is a gold tube worth 230 gold pieces. It rattles when you shake it. Inside, there are gems worth 25 gold pieces each. I abbreviate all this stuff like GPS, so I keep wanting to not say gold pieces. Room 9 has 4 giant spiders with hit points 6, 5, 3, and 2. In the corner is a man's skeleton, including a suit of plate mail, lantern, 2 flasks of oil, dagger, sword, and a mace. There is a rotting leather bag in the corner with the map. And finally, we'll finish this up with room 10, even though there are about 90 different rooms. There is a door which fires an arrow when it is opened. The arrow is magical, of course it is. And if it does not hit anyone, you roll a 3 or a 4, it can be used. After that, it will fire 2 normal arrows, which will break when they hit the ground. All right, so that was my 12-year-old childhood imagination on display for all of you. And we will wrap up here in my trip through the secret dungeons of 1979. All right, thanks for going on this journey with me. And may all your quests be successful.